Right. So I think the key message I'm trying to get across is that the macro environment has fundamentally changed. And then I did some analysis, and other people like Macronaut and BitPain and others have also done the math too. And Bitcoin going up 20x is not a difficult thing. It's done it sometimes in the past. So the key here is that everything is different now with the ETFs, with the amount of money able to flow into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we can very rapidly go up to 1 million.
Every single day brings us, we get closer to the mythical God candle. The day Bitcoin goes up over $100,000 in a single way, on its path to 1 million mark per Bitcoin. That's the latest prediction from Samson Mow, the CEO of JAN3. According to him, $1 million per Bitcoin is very attainable in the near future, and the potential for a sudden and substantial increase in Bitcoin's price should not be underestimated. The world of Bitcoin has changed significantly in 2024. As Michael Saylor says, 2024 was the start of the Bitcoin bull run. The key difference now is the emergence of Bitcoin ETFs and the institutional interest we have now seen in Bitcoin. For example, in just the last week, the Bitcoin ETFs have bought over $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, with BlackRock alone buying $1 billion. That is insane. Soon there won't be any available Bitcoin left. In this new world, a $1 million Bitcoin isn't just a possibility. Samson Mow believes it's an inevitability. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video as Samson breaks down exactly how Bitcoin gets to over $1 million per coin. Also guys, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy staying up to date with finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now here's Samson Mow with his outlook on Bitcoin.
We talk often about hyper-Bitcoinization. And if you believe in hyper-Bitcoinization, then it's impossible to believe in diminishing returns because there should be no cycles to Bitcoin. If you're going to reach the point of hyper-Bitcoinization whereby we replace all fiat money, then there is nothing to go back to. So what are you measuring the returns in, right? If the US dollar no longer exists, then how can you have diminishing returns? So I guess there's two parts there. One is, will there be another cycle? And I'm not really sure. Like, just because we had 3 similar looking cycles in the past does not mean that we're always going to have this cycle, right? Because it's like flipping a coin. You get heads 3 times doesn't mean the next time it's more likely you're going to get tails. It's a different equation every single time. And the other part is, well, if Bitcoin does replace fiat, then there is no diminishing returns. You're just Bitcoin now. So it's not really possible to measure returns. In terms of all the other anti-Bitcoin sentiment, I don't really think it matters. I think what we should fight for is to prevent CBDCs, because if we can stop that from coming out and really anchor that Overton window shift to be anti-CBDC, Bitcoin will win. We just have to give Bitcoin that chance to keep going, and it's a finished battle. It's a done deal. So I don't think it matters if Trump is pro-Bitcoin or not, as long as he's anti-CBDC, because the market forces always will win. So I think it's a good thing that more and more politicians are taking these more pragmatic stances rather than the more pleasant soundbite virtue signaling path that you typically see coming out of Davos. And this is, I think, why Milei dropping that bomb of a speech was significant, because 1, it's at Davos, and 2, it shows how much interest there is in this topic and manifesto of freedom that is being spread versus the traditional stuff that comes out of Davos usually. And you see that in the view counts, right? I think he's at millions of views now, and the next best one is 30,000 views or something like that. So it shows that the people want a certain topic to be discussed. They don't want you to plan the next world government and telling you to eat the bugs. There's always a risk of rehypothecation, and I don't think Bitcoin is immune to it, just because some people will always seek out the most convenient form of holding Bitcoin, and for the majority of people it is with an ETF or with a custodian. So there is always that risk, but the benefit and the advantage that Bitcoin has is self-custody is actually quite easy, right? If you can write down 12 words, you can self-custody. And if you can drive a car, I think you can write down 12 words. So it's just about getting more people into Bitcoin. And I view the ETFs as a way to orange pill more people, just like I view nation state Bitcoin adoption as a way to get more people into Bitcoin. Yes, the ETFs are not the ideal format for us hardcore Bitcoiners that are all about self-custody. And yes, it's not ideal that countries accumulate a lot of Bitcoin. It's better that people accumulate a lot of Bitcoin, but it's also a way to reach more people. So I think you have to take the good with the bad. And eventually people will learn to self-custody simply because you have to pay a lot of fees, right? Even with the low fees the ETFs are charging, it's still significant when you compound that over a number of years. In 2018, at some conference, I think I was on stage and I said, Tether, it was a panel of stablecoins. I remember a few other stablecoin people there. I'm not sure why I was on that panel, but they put me on the panel. But I was talking about Tether and I said, Tether is a mid-step towards hyper-Bitcoinization. It's a way for people to get into this ecosystem and then move on to Bitcoin, because not everyone has a bank account. Tether serves as the last mile for banking for much of the world. Like we have the situation of people that are unbanked. And yes, we can bank them with Bitcoin, but you can also bank them with Tether on Liquid or other chains if you must. But the fact is, you can get people access to the financial system through this mechanism. And it's not rational to think everyone's going to suddenly jump into Bitcoin. That's more of a Western perspective. Like people that think that probably have a bank account and they can make SEPA transfers or Interac or ACH or whatever. But you have to remember, there are billions of people in the world that can't do any of that. And they do want digital dollars. And this is why Tether is so dominant in the global South, because they're looking for something to protect themselves from inflation and hyperinflation. But Bitcoin seems far off for them. But a dollar is something that they're familiar with. Like most people know what a dollar is. That's why it's the reserve currency. And Tether gives them access to that reserve currency. So I think you need to be willing to accept that Tether is an important part to get to hyper-Bitcoinization. And I've talked to Paulo before too. He doesn't believe that, Tether, the stablecoin, they do a lot more now. They have energy and mining and a lot of other things, but he doesn't think the stablecoin will exist forever because the dollar won't exist forever too. So I think we're more or less all on the same wavelength that stablecoins are a mid-step to getting towards hyper-Bitcoin.
Samson argues that in a world of hyper-Bitcoinization, the concept of diminishing returns becomes irrelevant. When Bitcoin becomes the dominant currency, there's no fiat left to measure its value against, so diminishing returns wouldn't apply. In this scenario, Bitcoin's growth isn't limited by past market cycles, making it a mistake to expect another predictable bull or bear run. Instead, Bitcoin would be poised to break beyond previous patterns as it takes over the global financial system, with nothing left to measure its value against but itself. Now, let's go back to Samson Mow as he discusses this further. But before that, today's video is brought to you by Crypto.com. If you still haven't got a crypto card yet, you're living in the past. Traditional cards have annual fees and transaction charges, but the Crypto.com Visa card doesn't. You can spend your crypto anywhere, and the benefits are amazing. With your Crypto.com Visa card, earn up to 5% back in CRO rewards on every transaction. Enjoy 100% cashback on Spotify, Netflix, and Amazon as a new customer for 6 months. Get complimentary access to airport lounges with a sleek metal card. Crypto.com is giving a $25 sign-up bonus for Jamie Tree viewers. Here's how to get your $25 bonus and start earning up to 5% back. Download the Crypto.com app via the first link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Sign up using our referral code nutty for an instant $25 bonus. After approval, here's how to get your Crypto.com card. In the Crypto.com app, first tap the Card tab on the navigation panel. Select your card tier based on the required CRO staking amount. I have a Ruby Red card. You need to lock up 400 USD of CRO for 180 days, which is then unlocked. Accept terms and conditions and ensure you have sufficient CRO in your wallet for the stake period. Then, submit your delivery address. You'll then receive your Crypto.com Visa card, start making transactions, earning rewards, and enjoying the perks. To claim your $25 bonus and earn up to 5% back on transactions, click the first link in the description to get started with Crypto.com today. Now back to the video.
If we can get countries to adopt Bitcoin, then like we talked about before, we can have more people learning about Bitcoin. Just like in El Salvador, when the government implemented their Bitcoin law and their digital securities law, well, that onboards a lot of people into Bitcoin that otherwise would not have bothered or even cared to. So the implication really is we have countries that adopt Bitcoin, but at a lower level, a really good outcome is that they don't have bad legislation like banning self-custody or self-hosted wallets or things like that. So I think the work that we are doing is quite important in the path to hyper-Bitcoinization. The large brunt of, I guess, animosity from the IMF on all of their Bitcoin things. And fortunately, they did really well for themselves, right? They boosted their economy, their GDP, their traditional bonds are rallying. So there's not that much that the IMF can say because everything they've done has been a success. So I think it makes it easier for subsequent countries to implement a Bitcoin strategy without fearing too much of the ire of the IMF. Basically, they went at the king, right? And they have one shot, but they lost. So like, what can they say with the next country? Like, you shouldn't do that because El Salvador is successful. I mean, they could, but it doesn't make any sense. And if you look at the media and all their publications, a lot of it has quieted down. The IMF is not criticizing them anymore, and I think with good reason. So it makes it easier for us as JAN3 to go and talk to the different countries and say, well, you can do a Bitcoin strategy, and it's okay because IMF is not going to say anything now. I'm sure when they do it, there will be a little bit of saber rattling, but at the end of the day, countries have to look out for their own best interests, not the interests of the IMF to keep loan sharking, right? So that is really a litmus test. Can the leader of a country take the decisions that are in the best interest and get that country out of debt, out of subservience, and be sovereign? And the interesting trend that we're seeing now is we're seeing politicians come out and talk about this, and you can take that with a grain of salt, but that is the trend, like Milei with Bobby Kennedy and a number of others. So the tide seems to be shifting towards more about pragmatism and being actually sovereign countries. The best case scenario, I think, is Bitcoin price goes up very gradually towards $1 million over a number of years, and we all have a lot of time to stack sats and build out everything that's needed. And Max Payne theory says, well, you probably won't have that time. It's going to be a mad scramble, and we won't be ready with Layer 2s and all the wallets. We won't be ready to onboard all the people. And a lot of plebs out there that have been DCAing are going to get stuck with unspendable UTXOs because fees are now 100,000 sats or something like that. So that's the idea. Like, it's probably going to happen and catch us off guard, and we're all going to be unprepared. That's the basis of Max Payne theory. If Bitcoin does shoot up to 1 million, that's probably Max Payne for the largest number of people, because instead of being able to make a material difference in your financial economic situation by acquiring a lot of Bitcoin, the quintillionaires are going to buy up all the Bitcoin, drive the price up, and you'll still have this divide between the rich and the poor instead of that being equalized. So basically 8 billion people are not going to be able to get in early. They're just going to be earning Bitcoin at 1M per BTC. The main point is all of this is a rounding error, right? If you believe that Bitcoin is going to become the new base currency of a financial system and the money of the world, then it doesn't matter if it's 0.04 million per Bitcoin or if it's 0.5 million per Bitcoin. Well, I think it should reach something like 1 million within the next year. I would say that's my more conservative estimate. And the reason why I front loaded it, I said it'll be very, very soon before the halving, is because we make new all-time highs after the halving, after some number of months after the halving. And that would just mean that there is a cycle. And I don't think that we will continue to have that cycle. So that means it has to be before the halving, and before halving means very, very soon. The 1 million thing is really for fun. It's for entertainment. And some people are really angry saying you shouldn't make predictions, but I think BitPayne also gets a lot of flack for it too, because he's also making it. But we don't believe that you can, one, predict, and two, Bitcoin is going to go to 1 million sooner or later. So it's just like we're predicting, next year there's going to be a summer, right? It's an inevitability. So it's for fun, but it's really just a number out there that we can anchor to and have fun with and entertain ourselves as we go into this next bull market. We started from 30 something last year. In 10 years time, we should be at just about 3 million per coin. So that's a very, very conservative estimate. And that's based on historical price appreciation after 2014 or so. So 1 million in the next couple years is almost definitely in line with a very conservative estimate.
Despite a sluggish Q3, Bitcoin remains the top performing asset in 2024, with a year-to-date gain of 49.2%, according to a report from NYDIG. Even though Bitcoin's third quarter growth was just 2.5%, it has still outpaced traditional assets like precious metals and equities. Looking ahead to Q4, Bitcoin could be on the verge of significant gains, as it often experiences bullish cycles during this period. The report points to political factors, such as former President Trump's support of the crypto industry and global monetary easing. As Mow points out, Bitcoin's potential lies in its ability to serve as a lifeline in economies facing turmoil or financial instability. His predictions of Bitcoin serving as a hedge during economic crises strengthen the argument for a massive rally, especially as adoption accelerates. Anyway guys, before we go, if you want to stay most up to date on the crypto and Bitcoin world, make sure to subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It's a concise resource for the latest expert predictions, breaking news, and top on-chain analysis, trusted by over 50,000 subscribers for insightful crypto investment information. Don't miss out on the opportunity to stay informed in the crypto market. The link is in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and that it provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, all the best.